back and forth in some of these other states, and an escalating battle between Senators Rubio and Cruz over a report that Marco Rubio's people were telling him to step out of the race. Of course, the Rubio camp denied that. Nevertheless, an email went out, presumably to voters in states like Florida, even Hawaii. You know, just to let you know, there's talk out there that Rubio's going to step out of the race, so you're all but wasting your time and vote. If it sounds familiar, it should. There's nothing Machiavellian or evil going on here, depending on your point of view. David Tamasi is a Rubio supporter and thinks that it really isn't a nice thing to do. Andrea McWilliams is a Cruz supporter on what the fallout could be here. Andrea, to you first. What is your campaign doing here? I mean, are you just relaying these stories that the Rubio people were urging the senator to call it quits before Florida, and that's it, or what?
You know, the email that was sent out actually referenced a CNN article.
Right.
So it's a reputable email that was sent out, and I think that,
but
you
guys
Rubio
did send that out. In other words, you were quoting what was a CNN story. But
correct.
Okay. But you didn't, even though the Rubio people denied that, you still relayed that.
Yes, and Rubio tried attacking Trump. It didn't work. He's attacking Cruz now. I just think we need to return to a more civil tone instead of everyone calling each other names and accusing each other of misdeeds.
All right. Well, David, essentially what she's saying is you're making a big deal out of nothing. What do you say?
Well, I think that's an inaccurate portrayal of the facts, which are, once CNN, the Rubio campaign was aware of the fact that CNN had aired this report, the campaign immediately debunked it repeatedly. And so aside from the fact that it's not factual, it defies logic that Senator Rubio, who's clearly said that he's looking forward to a successful turnout and a successful outcome next Tuesday in Florida, would do anything other than compete there. So I think, with all due respect to my colleague who's on the program with me, what the Cruz campaign is doing is providing an inaccurate fact pattern
but David,
to voters.
Can you say it's unequivocally inaccurate? Or are there any people that you know in the Rubio campaign, now they named unnamed sources, always risky, and I agree with you, who were advising to protect the senator's long-term political prospects? It might be a good idea for him to step down now if it looks like he will lose Florida. That is not out of the realm of, yeah, we could see that.
Well, I mean, you know, it's hard to quantify long-term political prospects when you have an immediate primary a week out. I think that folks who are thinking that far out, I would, with all due respect, suggest they may not have the senator's ultimate best interests
fair
at
enough.
play.
So there's no truth to that period. So
absolutely,
Andrea,
absolutely not.
Okay, fair enough. So Andrea, then it comes back to something that your campaign had to deal with in Iowa, where you were putting out these stories that Ben Carson was quitting the race. Now, I know a lot of people looked at that and said that's why Senator Cruz won Iowa. He probably would have won Iowa without that. It's easy to second guess. But having said that there's a taint of deviousness that's assigned to your campaign. It might not be fair, it might not be right, but it's a perception that's out there, and something like this fuels it. What do you say?
I think that's absolutely untrue. I think that Cruz won Iowa because he had unequivocal conservative support. Cruz is used to being the underdog. Back in 2012, when he ran against David Dewhurst, who was a self-funded candidate and our current Lieutenant Governor for the United States Senate, he won that as well. And he's used to being the underdog and fighting for his votes.
So you're not worried that there's this kind of stuff sticks to your campaign?
Not at all. In fact, I really think this is a two-man race. I think it's Trump and Cruz at this point. And I really, you know, with the passing of Nancy Reagan, to me it really underscores that we should be looking at the First Lady candidates instead of just talking about the men. If Donald Trump is elected, Mrs. Trump will be the First Lady that has ever posed nude, the First Lady that's the third wife, and the first foreign-born First Lady in this century. In contrast, Heidi Cruz would be our first pro-life First Lady. She also is a graduate of Harvard Business School. What difference does it make if Donald Trump's been married before, or what his wife is or was? She's his wife now. I think it's critically important. You've been covering Nancy Reagan. look at what an influencer she was to her husband. And I think,
are you saying
know,
are you saying that Donald Trump's wife is less of an ideal first lady because she wasn't born in this country, or because she posed in a magazine?
well, I think posing nude speaks to character.
Okay, what do you think of that, David?
Well, I mean, I think, again, it's a little bit reflective of what the Cruz campaign is doing here, which is taking half-truths and incomplete statements and trying to advance them for their own political objectives. And I would also suggest that, you know, Senator Cruz, when you originally looked at the way that the Super Tuesday SEC states were supposed to play out, those were supposed to be the states that Senator Cruz was supposed to sweep. That did not happen. We'll see what happens tonight. And we have 2 states that are supposed to render their outcomes next week,
right.
which
Yeah,
obviously will be important. I would just quickly add, though, you know, again, the Cruz campaign has made a big point of making a play in Florida. They've opened up, hypothetically, 10 campaign offices down there, but, you know, there isn't really evidence that anyone's in those offices. So I think a lot of this stuff is, is close to being disingenuous to advance a political objective.
Politics too, though, right?
Certainly.
All right. So it is what it is.
And I think tonight will tell a lot.
Indeed it will. Might set the stage for what could be a very interesting March 15th in a lot of these winner-take-all states. Guys, thank you both.